Hey everybody, I thought we should have a little conversation about job hunting in the times of COVID, which is an interesting time to be looking for work. So as many of you know, I was made redundant during the lockdown, and it doesn't come as a surprise. It's been so far 82, 83 days that we've been involved with this, so it takes a little while for some businesses to work out what needs to be done. The thing that I've found fascinating about job hunting in this process, though, is that obviously things change a little bit. There's a much larger job market out there now, and at the same time, the way that you interview and get to meet people is completely different. So for me, this is a few of the things that I've noticed that have changed between hunting for jobs pre-COVID and hunting for jobs now. Okay, so the first thing that I've actually noticed has been it feels much easier to go out there and get an interview. Now, it might just be because the roles that I'm interviewing for, I know I've got qualifications in. You can actually see them there, right there. I have a master's degree, I have a Bachelor of Arts with honours from somewhere else, and I'm looking for work within fields that I've worked in before. So to me, it feels like when I'm applying for a job on paper, I'd be the right fit for it. And of course, when your market is a little bit looser, you've got less people applying, so it feels like you've got a better chance of being seen. And on average, over the last couple of weeks, I've been interviewing 3 times a day for different roles. So I feel like I'm doing something right there. And I also make sure that with my cover letter and my CV, that they are personified for what the role is. Well, I hope they are anyway. At the same time, I try and make them entertaining because a lot of the work that I apply for involves things like copywriting. So I want to make sure that that comes through when you're looking at what's in there. But the response has actually been completely different to what I'm used to. Like, completely different. It's been a bit weird. I remember when I worked at JB Hi-Fi like a decade ago, more now, I spent 2 weeks applying for 180 jobs and I got nothing back from anybody. Like, it was ridiculous. And when I did move on, that wasn't down to a job that I'd applied for. It was actually somebody that I knew in a different position had suggested I put my name forward for it. So that doesn't feel the same this time round. It feels very different in that respect, and that people are looking for talent and they're willing to consider what they're looking for a little bit differently and sort of open the borders up a little bit. The interview process has also changed up quite a bit lately because everything is done remotely. I don't think I've used video calling services quite so much in my entire life. And don't get me wrong, this is what I was promised when I watched Star Trek, that video calls were going to be the rage all the time in the future, and it turns out that they are. It's really funny though, trying to get an idea of the interactions with people, because you don't have those physical cues to be able to play off. So it's really hard sometimes to mimic it. I remember in high school, we did a thing on job interviews and it was like, you should always try and mimic the person that you're interviewing so that they can match body language. You can't do that on a video call. It's really difficult. So everything sort of feels like one step removed when you're doing that, because everybody has the same body language. It's sitting here staring into the camera. The things that I'm finding interesting about it though is that for some programs you can change your background, and seeing what sort of backgrounds people choose for that is enlightening. Some people prefer to have a blurred background so you can't see their personal space, which makes sense. No judgment either way. But for me, I try and make sure that my background has a little bit about my personality when I'm doing these interviews. That's why there's, Baby Yoda and movie posters and stuff like that, because that's a bit of who I am. It's quite interesting to try and sit down there and read people's body language when you can't see their bodies. So it changes the process up quite a bit in that respect. The other things that I've noticed with this whole process is that the way you find out what the outcome is completely different to the way that it used to be. So it used to be about 80% of jobs on average you heard nothing back from, or I didn't anyway. But this time round, that's actually dropped quite significantly. It's down to about 50% of the jobs that you apply for you don't hear anything back from. And that might not necessarily be a phone call or an email. Sometimes it's just a notification on Seek saying, no, you're not quite right for the role. And while that's incredibly impersonal, it still gives you that information. And I think that's quite fascinating, because it is a faceless process where you just sort of tick a box and go, yeah, no, you don't quite meet the criteria. And I know, having worked in a recruiting company, that there's quite a little bit of automation that goes through in that process sometimes. But at the same time, every company has their own processes for how they're doing these things. But for me, seeing that number drop has been quite interesting. What I find really weird though is, depending on your interaction that you have with people, it kind of dictates how you get a response. So I was talking to one recruiter the other day, and she goes, she called me up to say I didn't get the job, but it happens. And I'm like, thank you for the call. And she goes, well, we talked face to face, so I feel like I have to. Which that's actually a really cool way of looking at it. Of all of the jobs that I've applied for, though, having spoken face to face to quite a few of them, I still get emails for the majority of them saying yes or no, which, at least I know what's going on. I say yes or no. So far, it's just been no. But that's all right, because you keep going and you keep trying. It's that, to me, is fascinating. Like, the outcome is absolutely fascinating. That, for some reason, even though we're less connected physically than we've ever been, we're more connected in how we feel we have to communicate with others. One of the other things that really sort of gets me as well is when you get to a process where you're sitting down, you're talking face to face to someone, and you might be on a short list, or it might just be screening or whatever. Not hearing anything back feels ruder than hearing back that you didn't get the job, or just a notification from the job app saying, you're not right for it. Like, to me, that feels a little bit less personal, like stepping away going, not going to do that. Which, it's not much I can do about it, really. But it's one of those weird little bugbears to me that just goes, doesn't quite work. Yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to job hunting for me at the moment. As I said before, the things I'm finding really fascinating is that you have to learn or relearn how to read body language through a screen, which is, like I said, very sci-fi, but not exactly something I was expecting. And at the same time, the process itself feels a lot more personal for some weird reason. People get back to you more often. It just overall seems like the whole process of hunting for a job that has had this massive shift. I will say this, though, a large number of the jobs, like 40% of the jobs that I've applied for, have actually come back going, we're going to hold off until after lockdowns because we can't operate with the lockdowns going on. And of course, this lockdown's been going on for a long time. It's going to be double-digit week numbers by the time we finish this. So at least double digits. So it sort of surprises me how many businesses are being hit in that way, that they are putting this sort of stuff off that I spoke to at the start of this outbreak. So, are they still holding off? How are they coping without having anybody in those roles? It's a really tricky situation, and at the same time, I totally get, if you're not earning an income, then you're not able to afford to pay your staff. And before you take on more staff, you need to look after who you've got there. Totally makes sense. But for me, that was one really strange outlier when it came to this whole process. All right, that's enough of me today. Really short video because I was up to like 12:30 last night doing today's video because it just wouldn't render for me. So I will keep this one nice and short. And tomorrow, I think you're going to like tomorrow because, again, doing Halloween. Did you spot our Halloween thing today? There was a little bit of a Halloween hidden thing in there. Referencing a horror film, which I'll probably do a video about a little bit closer to Halloween. Another one hidden in today's video, actually. I wonder if anybody noticed it. It's hard to tell what people have noticed these days. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you a ghost story, an actual true ghost story, something that happened to me. So pop back in again tomorrow morning about 9 o'clock, and I will see you then. Until then, have a great day. Make the most of it while you can.